Yeah, you try to make every session special, and tell you what, the fortunate thing is I've had. I mean, every call is very special. Today, later, working with Burt Bacharach and on some Michael Jackson tracks. Had the chance to work with Michael Jackson and Quincy Jones, and those records are amazing because you're playing and you know that millions of people around the world are going to hear what you play that day. So those are always magical. But in the studio with B.B. King and people like B.B. King and Clapton and Phil Collins, and you're playing and you make these records and these tracks, and you just feel good afterwards. The records I really enjoyed too, I've been recording with Anita Baker for almost 30 years, and those records always sound great. Fortunately, we worked with one of the greatest engineers, Barney Perkins, who passed away a while ago, but he used to get a great bass sound. So I really enjoy, I'm really proud of what those records sound like, and she recently asked me to produce a few songs on her latest CD. I think the working title is 21st Century Love of the CD, but we've been having a good time. I wrote and produced a couple songs with her for that. And there's a track that we recorded with Kenny Loggins called Love Will Follow. It's on an album called Vox Humana. And that was just us in the studio with a drum machine, me, Greg Fillinganes, and a drum machine, and we had a really good time making that. After it was over, we felt pretty proud of that. One song that I felt very special about, and it was because of the emotional subject matter of the song, but it was Tears in Heaven when we recorded with Eric. And of course, very sad to see his son Connor go, and so every note on that record had a very special spirit attached to it. And I knew that, when we recorded that song, and I just knew that was a very spirit-filled performance. When I'm in the studio and when we're recording, obviously we're going for the absolute best sound that we can possibly get. So one of the first things that I do is make sure my strings sound good and are I like a new fresh set of strings. It just gives it that nice, bright, crispy sound and very hi-fi. I never record without my Yamaha. Here we go. It's called the NE1 parametric equalizer, and this is just something that I actually use it on my bass. But it works on any bass. I've used it on keyboards, and it's a great sounding equalizer. I set it on the deep setting, and I put the frequency right around the 10 o'clock position, and it just adds a warmth and a tone that I can't describe. And every recording that you've heard me on, I'm going through that box. I use these special hi-fi Tara Labs cables that I found in a music store one time, and I was A/B-ing them for the other cables, and they were obviously there was a definite more clarity, and so immediately I whipped the credit card out, so I have a couple of those. They said, that'll be $2,000, please. And I said, wait a second, for a cable, and so I ended up being an endorsee for Tara Labs, because they are superior cables, and they do a lot of wiring for these big hi-fi home stereo and home theater units. But bottom line is your instrument, your strings, your cables. I love the EQ, and then you get a good direct box, and then you're ready to start producing your sound and going for the best sounding recording you can get. I've been with Yamaha for just about 30 years now, and which let's see, did I start when I was 1? No. That's dating myself, but they make a great bass, and you know, as we discussed earlier, they in the bass department they really have come up with some great product. And so this is actually the prototype to my Nathan East version 5-string signature bass, and I love this. This is my lucky bass. It's been on so many records that I just love playing it still in the studio. And the signature bass is basically this electronics and everything. So yeah, it's a great company, and I really enjoy it. But there's so many great bass makers out there now. You know, the field has broadened over the years. And so what I usually suggest is just, you know, when you're out and about, go to the music store and try everything out. That's one of the things I enjoy doing on the road, is just hitting the music stores and trying out amps and basses and strings and chords, and just to see if there's anything out there that can help me take my game up. Well, it was one of those things, and I think I was making reference to an article that I had read about Anthony Jackson, and Shaka Khan had said that she said he's my favorite bass player, you know, and obviously what he played on those records is brilliant. It was something that I studied, and when I saw that, I said, I want to be everybody's favorite bass player, you know, and I got to tell you, a lot of the dreams that I had, I mean, I started in San Diego with the first big gig I had was touring with Barry White and the Love Unlimited Orchestra when I was 16 years old. And he came to San Diego and hired a band that I was in called Power. And he hired the entire band, and we went on the road. I played the Madison Square Garden, the Apollo Theater, John F. Kennedy Center in D.C. And for me, you know, at age 16, to be sitting there with an orchestra in a tuxedo and Barry White, it was just an opportunity of a lifetime. And I think that set me up for what was to follow. You know, a lot of good music, a lot of touring, a lot of recording. But I can remember recording with him, and then it's a business of stepping stones. One thing leads to another, and I moved to LA in 1980. And started working with Gene Page, the great arranger here, who called me for a lot of his sessions. And before I knew it, you know, I was running from studio to studio, and I'd leave working with Madonna, run down the street and work with Whitney Houston, and then, you know, go down the street and work with Lionel Richie, and then Barbra Streisand. I mean, it was just every day something great musically was going on, and hundreds of sessions going on in LA at that time. But one thing leads to another, and if you leave a good mark, it'll come back, and you know, that's your name gets around. And in 1985, I was playing with Kenny Loggins. I remember he gave me a call and said, "Our bass player's sick. Can you meet us out on the road?" And they sent me a tape of the show, listened to it on the plane, and learned that, and played with him. So I played it with him at Live Aid. And as soon as I came off the stage, there was Eric Clapton saying, "Hey, you want to go hang out? And let's do some jamming together." So it's like one thing just leads into the next, and the thread is just trying to bring it in every situation. As far as I'm concerned, you know, just do your best. So there is a new Fourplay CD out now. It's called "Let's Touch the Sky." It's our 12th CD, and I'm really proud of it. Really happy with the way it came out. And I think there's a link to this website, to our record label, which is Heads Up. And I'm sure also it can be purchased at Amazon.com. And if you can find a record store, it should be in there as well. So that's the new Fourplay, "Let's Touch the Sky."